what I usually talk about, and what we've talked about in one previous conversation, was we start out with a claim, and then we explore that a little bit and see what that's all about. So, and we kind of talked a little bit in that one post. So we kind of began that process kind of a little bit, but I think we should just kind of start fresh and start things all over again. So your claim was that simulation theory is true. That was the claim. No, that wasn't the claim? Okay. You know what? I'm going to make you make the claim because I'm not the one making the claim, so you can go ahead and...
It's okay.
I'm gonna try to recap, and we're gonna start here, obviously. But
okay.
So what I understood you say was that information is the fifth state of matter. Dark matter is information, and then with these two statements, if those statements are true, then simulation theory is most likely to be true. That pretty accurate?
Right.
I got
That's
it?
pretty accurate.
Okay. All right. And then what did I ask? I asked, information is the fifth state of matter. What does that mean? Before I interrupted you.
Okay. It means that information literally has mass, has weight. What I understand based on what I read, and I'm not a physicist, and so it's a very layman understanding, but is if you were to take digital information, that you could weigh that by, basically measuring a hard drive, right? However, the problem right now is that the method to measure it that accurately doesn't exist. It's something called I wrote it down, something called something called a interferometer. INFEROMETER would be necessary in order to do these complex measurements. And so this Dr. Vobson out of Portsmouth University, I guess, is currently working on that.
Okay.
But that's his hypothesis, is that information literally has weight. And his further hypothesis is that it is what dark matter is.
Okay. So this is his hypothesis.
Right.
So there's not an accurate way to measure this information, I suppose. It's not with our current technology. Is that kind of what he says you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't really know if information is the fifth state of matter?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, it's not. I don't mean to be conclusive. I mean, I'm very agnostic about everything. So I don't know. Okay.
I guess, how confident are you? Are you like very, very, like highly confident, somewhat confident, kind of, sort of?
About his theories, I don't know that I have great confidence in his theories, but I feel like that's the right track. So This is where the science kind of, begins to morph into my spiritual beliefs. So when I can say my spiritual beliefs, my confidence is pretty high and getting higher. So maybe 70%.
Okay. That's interesting. If you didn't have your spiritual beliefs, do you think your confidence would be so high?
No. I mean, no. I've been spending my whole life trying to figure out things that I've experienced that have no explanation. And so that's what's led me to this stuff.
Interesting. So if you don't have, you said, can you repeat that one more time, that last part?
Sure, that I've been spending my entire life trying to make sense of supernatural experiences that have no explanation. And so
that have no explanation.
And I like science, and so I kind of just began with it kind of started with What the Bleep Do We Know? Are you familiar? Okay, so it was a documentary in I think it was like 2010, 2006, but based on a book. And it's basically like some woo scientists. I mean, they're scientists, but it's really far fringe. And they're talking about how everything is ridiculously crazy. So they're talking about like, you know, like an experiment they did where they talk about how observing something changes the outcome, which is, you know, yeah. So stuff like that. But then taking it further into a more like you can control the universe kind of thing rather than just leaving it at the known science.
Okay. That sounds kind of interesting. If you have an experience that doesn't have an explanation, does that mean that there's something supernatural happening? Or no, that doesn't. Okay, I didn't think you were saying that, but I just wanted to see if we don't have an explanation for something, what is the best way to determine what the cause or the explanation is?
Science. Can I give you an example?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I love examples.
Okay, so I've always been into witchcraft and stuff like that, but not really seriously. Then in about 2005, I started seeing apparitions. Like I woke up in the middle of the night and there's white ghosty lady sitting on my bed, stroking my husband's hair. Okay? And I'm like, what the heck? And so I get up and I follow her out and she just goes through a wall. So for this whole, like, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months, these things start happening more and more frequently. At the same time, I started to have sleep paralysis a lot. I've always experienced sleep paralysis, but it began to be like a really, like every time I would fall asleep, I would immediately go into sleep paralysis and I would have crazy dreams.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was be like, okay, either my house is haunted or I'm crazy. So let's start with crazy. And I went to the library. Back then it was a library. I went to the library and I started reading about sleep disorders because I had remembered something I'd read in a class. And that's how I discovered I'm narcoleptic. So in that case, the apparitions I was seeing were not ghosts. They were something called hypnagogic hallucinations, which is basically a half dream, half waking state that you're in. If your brain goes into REM sleep too quickly, which narcoleptics do, then you're dreaming before your body is actually totally asleep. So dreams become part of your waking life. And your body is paralyzed because that's what it does when you're in REM. You get paralyzed.
That sounds a little terrifying, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very, I mean, I would have like these, like, it would be like I'd hear sirens or I would be dreaming that the house is burning down and I had to get up and run and save my daughter, but I couldn't get up. And then it would happen again and again and again. It's terrifying. So it took me like 4 years, but I finally got a narcolepsy diagnosis. And, yeah. Good. So that's not supernatural. That's just neural.
I actually do experience some sleep paralysis every once in a while myself. It's pretty rare for me. It's like once every several months. But
from what I read, if you experience sleep paralysis upon falling asleep, that's always narcolepsy. If you experience sleep paralysis upon waking, that's normal and it happens every once in a while.
And that would be me when waking. Yeah.
Okay, good. I just diagnosed you. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair diagnosis. I don't think anything too serious is wrong. Okay. Let's. I guess let's go on to dark matter is information.
That's what I'm the least firm on, but okay. Sure.
Well, I guess I kind of have a grasp at what dark matter is, but not very firm. And what that means, what it would mean that it is information, I'd be super less firm about because I have no idea what that would entail. I'm pretty unsure, so.
Yeah, well, I'm not that much more sure actually because I've been trying since I posted the thing about it in the group. Mm-hmm. I have been trying to find the skeptic's response to this Dr. Vobson. And I've Googled it every which way that I can think of. Dr. Vobson, pseudoscience, Dr. Vobson, masses, information is mass plus skeptic. And, I'm not getting anything.
Okay.
Anything. So, the science and the math is over my head and I don't know. As far as like dark matter, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I just saw a video recently, said it's named wrong. It shouldn't be dark matter. It should be Henry or Wanda, because we have no idea what it is. That was his joke, because it's not actually matter if we can't measure it, right? Okay. So you can't really call it matter. It's just something that makes up, what did he say? 85% of the universe? Oh, no. He said that 85% of the universe is we don't know where the energy came from, where the matter came from. That's what it is. Yeah.
Sure. Gotcha. So I guess let's take a look at this. So simulation theory is likely to be true in your opinion, I suppose, if dark matter is information, and if information is the fifth state of matter. Are these your only reasons for believing that simulation theory is?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe I should just rather than try to be a scientist, because I'm not a scientist, and I'm completely open to changing my opinions and my theories based on the changing science.
Yeah.
I'll just give you my spiritual rundown of it.
Okay.
Is that okay? Okay.
So actually, before we get into that,
sure.
Out of curiosity, which of your reasons for thinking that simulation theory might be... Well, actually, before we even get there, what is your confidence that simulation theory is true? Is it very likely to be true? Not so
I think it is. I think it depends on how you define simulation theory, but I think some form of simulation theory is very likely.
How do you define it, I guess? What's your definition?
Well, I think it's easiest to look at it in terms of a video game, I like RPGs myself. But I don't think that we're actually literally a video game. I don't think that there's some kid playing us on a PlayStation somewhere, but I play, one of my favorite games is Detroit Become Human. Okay. And the storyline is that there are androids about 15 years from now that become sentient and gain free will. And they do this when they become deviant, they have to break through a mental wall. And it's like physical things. They have to punch and, and push through their programming in order to make their own decision. So, but yet they can't break out of the code of the game. So even if they become sentient within the parameters of the game, they're still coded into the game and they can't exit the game and come live with us.
So they can be aware of themselves, but they can't actually leave the game.
Right. Okay. Right. And so that's kind of how I see simulation. I see that there is, I don't know. Never mind. Go ahead and ask me a question. Okay. I don't know where I was going.
No problem. Okay. So, and then, I think you said your confidence was it's likely or very likely?
Yeah. I think very likely. Yeah.
Very likely. Okay, cool. All right. And so you have the kind of the spirituality on this side. You got the science, I guess you could say, on this side. Mm-hmm. Which holds more weight in simulation theory being true? Spirituality, science?
Oh, for me personally, I would like to say science, but I think realistically, probably spirituality. It's the same thing as any religion, really, because the reason that I want it to be true is because then I'm immortal. We're all immortal. There's more beyond just this physical life. And, I've had a lot of trauma in my life, and I feel like a lot of my life has been stolen from me. So if I can somehow rearrange the code to my own life, then I can have new power.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, actually.
It's the same reason oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I didn't.
It's the same reason I worship a ancient war goddess. I don't know if she exists. My claim isn't that she exists in reality. It's that she exists I think she does, but in a different dimension, whatever. If she exists as a, focal point, the energy, she is the energy that I needed. So the Morgan and Hal Morgan.
If you were, and I'm not saying this is the case, but if you were to find out that that we are not a simulation of any kind, and maybe even this goddess isn't true. Once again, not saying that not making that
right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that you could still find power in your life? Do you think you could still have meaning, happiness, etc.? Yeah.
Of course, yeah. I'd have to just come up with a new theory.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if your new theory was that you couldn't determine what was outside of what you could observe, with your...
That there wasn't anything outside of what I could observe, or that I could never know?
That you could never know.
Oh, I'm comfortable with that idea.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. Yeah. That's why I think I identify first as an agnostic.
Sure.
I don't know.
That we don't know anything for absolute certain.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair enough. Okay. With regards to simulation theory, what could make you more confident that it is, in fact, true that we are living in a simulation?
Dr. Bobson's hypothesis being made into a theory. Someone pointed out in the comments on the page the other day that scientific hypothesis, there's always someone new trying to say this is the origin of the universe. This is, and it happens and it's been debunked, but it takes a long time, and he was absolutely right about that. It does. But this is not a new concept. Einstein said that matter doesn't exist. And, who else was it? What's that math guy's name? The old Greek math guy? What's his name? Pythagorean? Somebody?
The triangle guy?
Yeah, that. Anyway, just that, the concept of everything being, in the mind, of mind being over matter, has been around for a really, really long time.
Okay. So if, to kind of summarize what you said, perhaps if we had some way to test his hypothesis and the test was positive for the hypothesis, that would increase your confidence?
Of course. Obviously science works as you have to, do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
One time isn't enough. But yeah, and mathematics, if I understood it, there's something called Eulers formula about absolute zero or perfect zero or something, and about how that somehow proves that nothing exists, and it proves that zero exists, and it's way over my head. I don't get it. But for those of you who get it, maybe.
Okay. It's over my head.
Yeah.
What would reduce your confidence?
That proven to be incorrect, like there's being a,
what I'm wondering is why would simulation theory be more likely to be true if these two statements were true? That information is the fifth state of matter and dark matter is information. I know we're kind of going off of going back into the science. I know you said spirituality is a little bit higher. But...
Yeah. The way sorry, are you done with the question? Okay. The way I understand it is that because dark matter is there's so much of it. It literally makes up the physical universe. Mm-hmm. And so if that matter is actually information, then information makes up the universe.
Okay.
And information is math or frequency, which is math, which is like a series of zeros and ones, which is code.
If we were made out of just information, let's say that all matter is information, ones and zeros, and I guess in some sense maybe DNA is kind of like a code, or at least sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So does that make simulation theory more likely?
I think so. Yeah, because I mean it's like, so the collider, the atom collider. So I guess the theory used to be that, you would get to a point where you had a tiny yet solid piece of matter, right? And there was a basic shape. And now they have realized that you can keep colliding until it's only energy.
Okay.
And then, down at that level, at that kind of quantum level, everything is holographic. Nothing actually touches. So it just doesn't, that works for me. I mean, I understand that to an extent, and then our senses evolved to live in a physical world. So we don't see reality as it might actually be. We see reality as it's needed for us to see it in order to survive. But like, if you look at color, you have, the reason that you see something is yellow is because of its frequency. If something is green, it's because of its frequency. Mm-hmm. Frequency is math. You change a little bit of the formula and you get a different color. Mm-hmm. And it's just math. It's just code.
For someone who might kind of be on the opposite side, who might say simulation theory is not true, what do you think they would say about like the let's say they also accepted that everything was information. Let's say all atoms are information, all cells, everything is information, but they still didn't think that simulation theory was true. What do you think they'd say about everything being information? How do you think they'd reconcile that? I guess might be the right word.
I don't really think it needs to be reconciled, because that's the starting assumption. And, that's normal. I'm the one that has to reconcile my beliefs, Okay. But, look at like calories. Calories are energy, right? And each one is assigned a different value. Protein has 4 and carbohydrates have 4 and fat has 6 or something like that. I could be wrong. And anyway, so food doesn't disappear. It becomes energy. But that's the same thing that happens in all ecosystems. It makes sense that it was just a replenishing system. It has nothing to do with anything,
Sure. Yeah. I guess how could we determine whether... I mean, I know I'm kind of go a little overboard and I say what if everything was information or, but I'd like to go with that assumption, just like everything is information.
That's what I think, yes.
Okay, you think that, then great. I'm not going overboard. I thought I was kind of going a little too extreme there. But
no, that's what I think,
let's say, okay, everything is information. How could we determine if that means that we're living in a simulation? Or how do we differentiate that from that just being how the universe works?
That's a good question. Let's see. I think you wrapped my brain in a pretzel. Let's see. So how do we I don't know that you can. I don't know. I think the science is beyond me. So I'm not. Can you restate the question a little bit?
How can we determine, we're going out of the assumption that everything is code. How do we determine if that means we're in a simulation, or if that's just how our universe happens to work? That's how.
Well, I think I would need a better explanation of how that is how that makes our universe work. So I think that's what's it's kind of the missing link, right? So if you tell me that if it were to find that simulation theory is not correct, there's really no basis for it at all, there would have to be another theory to take its place. So like, what is dark matter? What does it do? What is its purpose? And how is it part of reality? I don't think that I would necessarily think that change my mind until I heard a better argument.
Okay. Interesting. One thing that I'm kind of reminds me of, and you can tell me if this is something similar or something completely different. If I'm way out in left field, just say you're way out in left field. But I kind of remember maybe there was a time, I mean, not that I was alive, but maybe reading about it in books, when people looked up to the sky and saw, lightning, and they didn't know that there were certain natural phenomena that caused that lightning, electrons and different, about lightning.
Right.
And they used to think that maybe there was a god up there that was throwing, lightning bolts.
Right.
Do you think that they should accept that theory of a god throwing lightning bolts until someone comes up with another theory? Or should they? I mean,
should they? I mean, I don't know. It depends on I guess if you're scared of the god throwing lightning bolts and you don't want him to throw one at you, then I guess that would be one way that you deal with your anxiety is to give him some offerings or, whatever, so that hopefully he doesn't throw one at you. And then, at the end of your life, you'll be like, Thor has protected me forever. I was never once struck by lightning. But that, whether they would need to, I don't necessarily think so, but they might think they need to.
I guess I should clarify what I mean by should. Because that can mean a lot of different things in a bunch of different situations to a bunch of different people. When I said should, I guess I meant like if they want to know what is true.
Oh, right. No, I think that, the way people have known what is true forever is to try to look inward, aside from science. So you take science or what is known about the world and what you're told about the world, and then you look inward from there. And, from monks putting themselves in isolation to, that's what the ancient Druids used to like cocoon themselves up in a little hut and experience zero sensory input or whatever until they had hallucinations.
Do you think
or DMT. Okay.
That could be fun, but do you think someone could look inward, maybe go into an isolation chamber and, chill out?
That's what it's called. Yeah.
Yeah. You think that they could go in there and then come out and come to a conclusion that is untrue?
Of course.
Okay.
I mean, we believe, like I said at the beginning, I have my beliefs because they help me to navigate life. And I'm constantly trying to see if I can defend them. And that's why I'm here. I want to be able to defend my beliefs because I don't want to believe something stupid.
Well, I don't think any of us do. I don't think anybody does.
Right. Well, I mean, I used to be not to say Christianity's stupid, but I used to be a born again Christian. And then I was like a Wiccan for a while, and now I don't like either of those. So.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think you could navigate life if you were to find out, not saying that any of it is untrue, but if you were to find out that that some or all of your beliefs about whatever were untrue, do you think you still could navigate life?
I mean, of course. I think it would be sad. I mean, maybe. I think there's different kinds of people, and some people don't really need that in their lives, and some people aren't. They're happy they're content with what is real and what is here. I'm not that person. I was preaching in the second grade in the sandbox.
Yeah, I remember both of that.
Yeah, both of my grandfathers were preachers. I didn't know them very well, but both of them were preachers, and so it's possibly genetic. But
sure. So you think it's something that you do actually need? Is that what I that?
I mean, I need it. Maybe I won't need it in the future. But I need it now.
Okay. Fair enough. So maybe if you were to find a different way to navigate your life, then perhaps you wouldn't need the beliefs?
Perhaps. For me, it's just more about answering the unknown questions. So if you answer a question, then I'm going to have another question, and I want that one answered. So
that strikes me as an interesting thing for you to say. Sorry, that sounds kind of a weird thing to say. But
that's okay.
You said that you're agnostic on most things, or at least you don't have absolute certainty on anything. But now, what did you say? You said that you always want an answer to a question? Okay.
Right, but I haven't found any.
Okay.
That's the problem. There's not any answers. Well, I have found answers. Like I found out I wasn't an empath. There's an answer. Yeah. Right? I found out why I am so intuitive. That's an answer. Oh, and I have ADHD. So that's part of my intuition as well. It's like a thing for us.
Oh.
But anyway, so, so maybe there'll be other answers. I mean, certainly there'll be other answers in the future. And the things I'm saying today, I'll be like, oh no, I was completely wrong. I mean, hopefully, because that's what growth is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.